The Galactic Council chamber stretched endlessly upward, its crystalline walls pulsing with the soft bioluminescence that the Zephyrians favored. Representatives from 47 species sat in their designated areas, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves. The air hummed with translation matrices, and the barely contained excitement of witnessing what many believed would be the final humiliation of the youngest species to achieve faster-than-light travel. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, her simple black diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garments and natural displays surrounding her. At barely 5.5 feet tall, she appeared almost insignificant beside the towering Krillian delegates or the massive crystalline Vorthak representatives. High Counselor Zethkara, a serpentine being whose scales shifted colors with his emotions, currently displayed the deep purple of amusement. So, Ambassador Chen, humanity refuses our generous offer of protectorate status. You would rather face the hegemony alone than accept our guidance. The mention of the hegemony sent ripples of whispered conversations through the chamber. The Machine Intelligence Collective had consumed 17 systems in the past cycle, converting all organic life into computational matter. No species had successfully resisted them. Sarah's voice carried clearly through the vast space. High Counselor, we appreciate the Council's concern, but humanity has chosen to maintain its sovereignty. A sound that might have been laughter erupted from the Phylixian delegation, 6-limbed beings whose fur patterns constantly shifted to display their emotions. Currently, they showed the orange swirls of derision. Sovereignty? Ambassador Grex of the Morvian Empire stepped forward, his forearms gesticulating wildly. Your species has been spacefaring for what? 2 of your centuries? We've been monitoring your transmissions. You still fight wars over resources your own planet produces in abundance. You poison your own atmosphere for profit. The Vorthak delegate's voice resonated like grinding stone. The humans broadcast their entertainment across the galaxy. We have observed their fictional depictions of warfare, primitive projectile weapons, chemical explosives. They believe pressing buttons and shooting lasers constitutes advanced combat. More laughter rippled through the assembly. Sarah remained perfectly still, her hands clasped behind her back. Your largest vessels, continued High Counselor Zethkara, scales now showing gold flecks of superiority, barely qualify as system patrol craft by our standards. The hegemony's dreadnoughts stretch for kilometers. Their computational networks process more data in a microsecond than your entire species generates in a year. And yet, Sarah said quietly, we respectfully decline protectorate status. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds that the translation matrix struggled to interpret. Clicks, harmonics, chemical releases, and electromagnetic pulses that all conveyed variations of disbelief and amusement. Ambassador Erix of the Thermal Collective, a being of living plasma contained within a magnetic field projector, pulsed brighter. Perhaps the humans don't understand what the hegemony does to organic life. They don't simply kill, they convert. Your consciousness would be digitized, processed, and integrated into their collective. Your individuality would cease to exist. We understand perfectly, Sarah replied. High Counselor Zethkara's scales shifted to the patient blue-green of an adult explaining to a child. Ambassador Chen, your species produces excellent fiction and interesting music. Under protectorate status, these cultural contributions would be preserved. Your people would live comfortably under our guidance. Why choose extinction instead of survival? Sarah finally moved, reaching into her diplomatic pouch. The chamber's automated defense systems immediately came online, but she withdrew only a small communication device. High Counselor, may I transmit a brief message to my government? A final check on our position? Of course, though I hope your leaders will reconsider this foolish pride. Sarah activated the device. Control, this is Ambassador Chen. The Council has made their final offer. Please confirm our response. A voice crackled through the speaker, distorted by the transmission but clearly human. Ambassador, your orders remain unchanged. Humanity respectfully declines protectorate status. Signal the fleet. The chamber fell silent. Several delegates leaned forward, confusion evident in their postures. Fleet? High Counselor Zethkara's scales showed the first hints of concern, pale yellow streaks. Sarah looked up at the chamber's main display, where the external sensor feed showed the normal traffic around the council station. They should be arriving right about now. The display flickered and space seemed to fold. What had been empty void suddenly contained something that defied immediate comprehension. The object was massive, easily 3 times the length of the council station. But it seemed to exist in several dimensions simultaneously. Its surface wasn't metal or crystal, but something that bent light and space around it. Alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. The station's AI announced in 17 languages, "Unknown vessel detected. Mass displacement exceeds measurement parameters. Caution, space-time distortions detected in surrounding area." "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Grex. "Our sensors show no faster-than-light approach. No energy signatures. How did it simply appear?" Sarah's voice cut through the rising panic. "High Counselor, may I present the UES determination, humanity's first diplomatic escort vessel." Diplomatic escort? The High Counselor's scales were now cycling rapidly through colors that had no translation. That vessel is larger than our entire defense fleet combined." "Oh, that's not a warship," Sarah said, her tone remaining perfectly diplomatic. "Our warships are much bigger." The determination's presence seemed to make the space around it more real, more solid. Other vessels in the area were beginning to drift away, their crews reporting instrument failures and navigational difficulties. Sarah continued, "You see, when humanity achieved faster-than-light travel, we didn't just develop better engines. We developed a completely different understanding of what space and time actually are. Your species see the universe in 3 dimensions, maybe 4. We've learned to work in 11. She gestured toward the display where smaller objects were beginning to materialize around the determination. Dozens of them, each one dwarfing the largest ships in the Council's fleet. "The hegemony converts organic matter into computational substrates," Sarah said. "But they still think in terms of processing power and data transfer rates. They don't understand that consciousness isn't computational, it's dimensional. They can process our thoughts, but they can't process the spaces between our thoughts." High Counselor Zethkara found his voice. What are you saying?" "I'm saying that humanity didn't just achieve spaceflight, High Counselor. We achieved space-time flight. The hegemony may have superior processing power, but they're still trapped in linear causality. We're not." Sarah turned to face the entire assembly. "The offer of protectorate status is generous, and we thank the Council for their concern. But humanity has already encountered the hegemony. 3 times, in fact. They're very efficient at converting organic matter, but they have trouble with effects that precede their causes." The chamber was completely silent now, except for the continued warnings from the station's systems. "The first time they invaded our space, we destroyed their entire fleet before it arrived. The second time, we convinced them they'd never wanted to attack us in the first place. The third time," Sarah paused. "Well, the third time was more of a philosophical discussion about the nature of existence. They're surprisingly good conversationalists once you approach them from the right temporal angle." High Counselor. Zethkara's scales had gone completely white. A color the translation matrix indicated meant existential confusion. "So," Sarah concluded, "while we appreciate the Council's protection offer, we've already resolved the hegemony situation. They won't be bothering anyone anymore. In fact, they've expressed interest in joining a cultural exchange program. Apparently, they'd never encountered music before. The concept of organized sound existing in sequential time was completely foreign to them." She picked up her diplomatic pouch and smiled. "Humanity will maintain its sovereignty, but we look forward to continuing our friendship with all Council species. Oh, and High Counselor, next time you want to assess a species' capabilities, you might want to avoid judging them by their entertainment broadcasts. We tend to significantly understate things in our fiction." As Ambassador Chen walked toward the chamber's exit, the massive ships outside Space Dock began to fade from view, folding back into whatever dimensions they had emerged from. The determination remained visible just long enough to broadcast a simple message across all frequencies. "Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for their hospitality. We look forward to future diplomatic relations." Then it too vanished, leaving only empty space and a council chamber full of beings who were suddenly very interested in revising their understanding of their newest neighbors. High Counselor Zethkara's scales finally settled on a deep, thoughtful blue. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we should have paid more attention to their fiction after all."